For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Hello everyone and welcome to tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report. My name is Tom Baker from Race Chaser Online and Speed 77 Radio. I am your host for the evening, and I am joined by 2 of our other Race Chaser Online staffers at the round table here this evening. First of all, welcome to the program after I guess you could say a year absence, technically. Hasn't been with us since last year. Really, it's only been a handful of shows. Kyle Souza been doing other things, back with us now for 2014. Kyle, welcome back.
Well, Tom, I'm glad to be back. We had some PC and computer issues, and a couple other things had me sidetracked for a little bit, but I'm glad to be back, and we have some mod news that I know we're going to cover that's really starting to pick up. The season's coming around quick up here in New England.
Excited to talk to you about that. Also joining us at the round table, coming out from behind the glass. Actually, he's kind of running back and forth here this evening. Our producer / co-host from Speed 77 Radio, Mr. Jacob Seelman. Welcome back, sir.
Good to be back, Tom. We got a lot to talk about tonight, and I've had a lot of fun putting together some of the material for tonight's show that the fans are going to hear. Several features that the fans are going to get a treat for tonight, especially the one we're going to start with here this evening. Pulling some rank here from the ARCA Racing Series. Going to be a fun show.
Yeah, it is going to be a fun show, and let's get right into it. We're going to cover everything from ARCA to late models to K&M Pro Series East to the modifieds here on this show, and we're going to have Tony Spins joining us as well to talk about the Racers Expo that's coming up here in Charlotte this Saturday and Sunday. He'll be joining us in just a little bit, but first of all, let's just dive right into it, shall we? Let's start with the ARCA Series. And if you're going to have some conversation and have a driver to talk to about the ARCA Series, I can think of no better choice than the guy who has been the guy, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. I mean, he's way better than LeBron. 10-time ARCA champion, Frank Kimmel. You and Frank had a chance to chat, Jacob, and I've talked to Frank several times. And just one of the nicest men, not just drivers, but nicest men that you'd ever want to talk to, and a whole lot of fun. And boy, he has just been the ARCA legend of all time.
Yes, he has. And you know, he was finally able to get that all-time moniker all to himself at the last race of the season last year at Kansas Speedway. Finally got that 80th career win. It took a long time to do it. He won number 79 at Winchester last year to tie Iggy Katona for most wins all time. But everybody kept asking, when are you going to get 80? When are you going to get 80? And it kept not happening for 12 races in a row or something like that. And Frank comes to Kansas, and he's not won a super speedway race in 5 years, all the way back to 2008. and Frank goes out. It was a rain-shortened race, but he was the dominant car at Kansas in October, took the win, number 80. He's back for a full season, not with the team that he won the championship with in the form of ThorSport Racing. He'll be with a new team for 2014, Wintron Racing. He's moving over there to take over the Toyota that was vacated when Mason Mingus moved up to the Camping World Truck Series ranks for 2014. Frank's got stability over there. He talked a little bit about why the change in the interview that you'll hear in just a minute, but he's excited, more excited than I think I've heard him in a very long time, Tom, and he's very confident that he can finally cross that final mark off the checklist that he's not yet accomplished, and that's winning at the Daytona International Speedway.
I wouldn't doubt it. Let's hear what he had to say.
Frank, first off, thank you for taking some time to talk with us. You had an incredible 2013 campaign on the ARCA side, finished in the top 10 in every single event, becoming the first driver in history to pull that off, and you cap off the season with ThorSport Racing with a record-extending 10th championship. I know I don't even have to ask if this season lived up to your expectations, but did it surprise you at all that you and the ThorSport team clicked as well as you did this season?
Well, after our first year together, I thought that, Jared and I, we really started making some good grounds at the latter part of the season, and the cars were running better and better. And I had a lot of expectations going into the following year that we could run really, really well every race. And I've always said when you get the race cars that you need and the equipment that you need and the crew that you need, it's time to just shut up and go race the car. And, that's what they allowed me to do. And that thing, it just ran good every single racetrack that we went to. And it was just a lot of fun going to the racetrack.
You capped off the season at Kansas with your 4th win of the season, and finally, after a lot of trying, managed to grab your 80th career ARCA Racing Series victory and surpassed the record of one of your heroes, Iggy Katona, setting the record for most ARCA Series wins in history. When you finally managed to do it at Kansas to close the season, what did it mean to you taking that checkered flag, knowing that after all these years and all the trying, you finally had that place in the record book?
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I think the biggest thing was I didn't have to answer the question, when you're going to win 80. That was really good. But it was funny. I guess surreal's the word, because as I was taking the victory lap and after the race, and there's just a tremendous load off my shoulders of, relief or whatever. And of course being happy and all the things that go with winning the race too. But it was, I think, more of a relief initially than it was anything else. We were able to get it. We were able to get it done before the season was out. And, I've won a lot of championships and been very fortunate and, to go out winning the last race of the year and doing it in a pretty convincing manner, and just everything going as well as it did. It was almost like one of those days that somebody needs to pinch you and try to wake you up, because it's like something the fantasy's made out of for a guy that races cars.
You've had so much history in the ARCA Series, going all the way back to 1994 when you won your first race, 92 when you were Rookie of the Year on the ARCA Tour, and now 80 career wins later. Throughout your career, I'm sure there's been a lot of moments for you that have been special, but is there any particular moment across the timeline that's just one of your favorites to look back on?
Well, you get that question a lot too, and I think that the Kansas finish, the finale, last race of the year, and breaking the record was definitely one of the biggest moments of my career. I think it's always great to win on a super speedway, and so that was a good weekend. And I think getting invited to race in the IROC series, and the only ARCA racer that was ever invited to that was a really big deal, I think, for me and my family. And there's a lot of great memories throughout my career that it's hard to single out, but those two are pretty big for sure.
Looking ahead to 2014, you made what a lot of people saw as a tough decision to leave ThorSport Racing, the team that you won your championship with this year, to move over to the Wintron stable for 2014. Talk a little bit about the reasoning behind your decision. I know it couldn't have been easy for you.
But it really wasn't, and it was, I know it sounds funny, but it was actually a business deal. It's just the way business worked out, and with the sponsors and the amount of money and stuff that we had, and what it was required to race there at ThorSport. And, I didn't want to go anywhere. I was very happy with Duke and Rhonda Thorson and Jared and Rich and all the guys that were taking care of my race cars, that, I was very content to stay right there and finish out my career and hopefully start a career for my son when he's able to start racing in the ARCA series. So it was a tough decision to leave, but it actually wasn't all mine. It was it was a sponsor thing and money thing and business. So it just wasn't going to work out. The numbers didn't reach where they needed to be, and Duke and I are still very, very good friends, and I think we will be for a long time. And I hated to leave. I think they hated for me to leave. And it's just part of the deal. And with all that being said, I really couldn't be more excited about what's going to happen this year. I think Kevin Sawinski and I have been friends for a long time, been very tough competitors against each other for a number of years in the ARCA series. And, I have just utmost respect for him and his entire team, and what a great racer he is. It's going to be funny to have an owner that can climb in the race car and show you how to do it, and he can, so he's going to be a great guy to work for, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It's got to be a little bit of a different feeling for you here. You move over to the Wintron stable for 2014, where just a season ago you were racing against them and racing against Mason Mingus, who was your chief championship rival for the title this year. What kind of a role does that allow you to take on this year, moving over to the Wintron stable and really, in essence, being able to act as a mentor for some of the younger drivers that Kevin Sawinski's had in his cars over the years?
Well, it's going to be an interesting deal, and it's funny that, you have competitors of our level or whatever that, how many times and how often we've raced for wins and against each other. But it's always a deal where, we, of course, when you race that hard, there's always been bumps on the road sometimes, and, there's never been a lost respect, I think, either direction. I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they're able to do there at Wintron, and I think they felt the same way about us, and when Bill and I were racing together with Larry Clement all the way up to what I did with Motorsports. So I think working with Mason, he'll be running the truck series, so if I can help him anyway, in shape and form, be happy to, and hopefully get the help from him and maybe learn from him. I mean, it's always cool to have these young kids out there, racing hard, and you can pay attention to what they're doing because they can teach you something too. So I think it's going to be a great relationship.
And we look at 2014, and the Kimmel name has been synonymous with ARCA, but not just through your driving career, but now through your nephew Will and your son Frankie. What does it mean to you to be able to watch their careers begin to grow here as well in not just 2013, 2014, but here going forward as well?
Well, that's the whole purpose of what I'm trying to do is to get him a good start, and whether he gets to run some ARCA and hopefully move on to run some trucks or whatever. And, Frankie has just done really, really well with everything that we put him in. He just goes out and runs well and wins, and he always finishes well, it seems like. So I think he's going to do really, really good. And, it's much tougher to watch him race than it is to race myself. And I'd say that, we've raced a couple of times in the ARCA series against each other already at our home track in Salem Speedway. He's done really well, both those. I think he led more laps in 2 races than I had in the last 4 or 5 races at the Salem Speedway. So he does really good, and it's very rewarding to see a young man come out and do well, and the fact that he's my son, that even makes it more special.
And away from the ARCA series, you take on a lot of responsibility in the motorsports world as well. You've run and still continue to run your own Frank Kimmel Street Stock series as well over the past couple of years. Talk a little bit about the series and what it's done for you and what you've been able to accomplish with that venture over the last couple of years.
That's been a lot of fun for us. We put a little series together to allow, some drivers that would probably never get the opportunity to race at a place like Rockingham or Kentucky Speedway or Bristol. And, I've always felt like that there's some of the greatest racers in the country are probably running the street stocks at a local dirt track somewhere or Saturday night, bull ring somewhere. So, as the economy and stuff has been tougher the last few years, it's very tough for us to get races. We're continually to work on it pretty much on a weekly basis, trying to talk with racetracks and figure out a program that we can get these guys where they can go race at some of these bigger racetracks. So it's a challenge. It's a tough thing to get going and especially then have to work it within my schedule of the ARCA series. But it's been very rewarding, and I look forward to hopefully keep that going for many years to come.
Looking at 2014, I don't have to ask you the question of whether you feel it's going to be a challenge for you because your driving career speaks for itself. But with a new situation, a new season, what are your expectations for 2014 with the Wintron squad? Do you feel like the change will impact you in any way, or do you feel like you guys can go ahead and hit the ground running for another championship run?
Well, I really feel like we can. I'm going to be disappointed if we don't run well. I just feel like that those guys know what it takes in the ARCA series to go out and run well, and obviously they do it every year. And this is probably the first time that I think they've done it where I'm kind of a driver, but I'm really not a paying driver. I don't have a dad that's paying for the deal and that kind of thing. So it's a little different program for them, but I think they're very much looking forward to to working with me. And I expect to go to Daytona and have as good a run there as we've had in a long time. I can't wait to get there, and their cars are always fast on the speedways, and I feel like we're going to have a very strong year.
Of course, Daytona, one of the last few marks on the to-do list that you're going to try to check off here in February. Certainly looking forward to a lot of things going right for you in 2014, but through it all, I know you've had a lot of people, a lot of support that have helped make it happen for Frank Kimmel. Talk a little bit about who makes it happen for Frank and for some of the great moments over your career.
You're exactly right. I said at the banquet this year, it's kind of more of a reflective speech of things that have gone out throughout my career, and it all comes back to people and the owners that I've had, and Larry Clement. He really got us going and got us the equipment that we were able to go and win with, but I would never got the opportunity without a guy like Jack Wallace giving me a race car so I could go run somewhere, and Terry Shirley and his family putting their hard efforts and money into my career. And so I've had some really great people over the years to help me out, and that's pretty rewarding. I had everybody, but Larry wasn't able to make it to the banquet, and Dan Baldorf, who's the only two people that I've ever driven for in ARCA that wasn't able to make it to the banquet this year, and they both were trying to be there as best they could, but the weather kind of stopped them, and I was happy, but we had everybody else there that I'd ever driven for, so it was a really special time at the banquet this year, and to have those people that actually, they deserve to be up on the stage, right with me. When they start talking about 80 wins, as a driver, you can't do it without the right people around you.
And I know the last question that a lot of people are wondering about, you've signed the full season contract with Wintron for 2014. Looking at this, though, you're starting to, I guess some people would say, reach the twilight of your career. What can we expect to see out of Frank Kimmel down the road? Is 2014 going to be your last run at a championship?
Well, it's I'm never going to say never. I don't know that for sure at this point. I think that, it all comes down to sponsorships and what Ansel and Menards wants me to do in the future. But I very much am looking forward to the time that Frankie can hop in the race car and go race too. And so if we can maybe get a couple more things done this year and have another good season, and if it all works out good with the sponsors and the owners, and that we can move him into running some races the following year, that would be great. So we'll see how it all works out.
And Frank, certainly a legend in the motorsports world in your own right. With the new deal for 2014, I know a lot of fans looking forward to seeing your continued success on track. We wish you all the best here in the new year as you get set to roll for the 2014 season at Daytona next month. We thank you again for taking some time to talk with us here this afternoon, and again, wish you the best going to Daytona in February.
Okay, man. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the call, bud.
And Tom, anytime you get a chance to sit down with a legend, it's really an incredible time. I had a great time conducting the interview with Frank. It's really an honor for me knowing that he's been racing as long or longer than I've been alive, just to be able to talk some of the history with him and some of the memories from his ARCA Racing Series career. It was a really special moment for me as far as this show was concerned and my work, and just looking forward to seeing Frank get on the track in a couple weeks. We know how elusive that win at Daytona has been, and I know he's, in a lot of fans' minds, a sentimental favorite going to Daytona, especially with as dominant as drivers like Bobby Gerhardt and some of the Turner Scott Motorsports teams have been over the last couple years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Frank is just a legend in the sport, and he and his family have really crafted so much ARCA history over the last good many years, and just a real gentleman. And it is an honor. You're right. It's an honor anytime you can sit and talk to someone like that. So thanks to Frank for taking the time with us here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. And with that, we will take our first break of the evening. When we come back, we are going to be talking modifieds here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Kyle Souza going to be giving us the update on what's happening in New England. Lots more coming up. We're just getting started. More drivers, all kinds of good stuff happening tonight. It is Thursday. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Stay with us.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker,
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio.
powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Tom, it's good that we're back on a Thursday night with Kyle Souza. It's about time we got him back here to talk some Northeast Modified news, and this ought to be a fun segment to break up the driver interviews portions of our show tonight.
Always fun to have Kuza with us, and Kyle's raring to go here, and he's got a bunch of stuff on his agenda. The first of which is that a legendary car owner has a new driver for the 2014 series, Art Berry, who I remember. This is New England Modifieds, by the way, folks. We're talking Art Berry has been fielding cars probably since well before I remember him. The first driver I remember him having was George Kent at Oswego Speedway back in the, I think it was probably the 80s, I'm guessing, maybe early 90s by then, not sure. But certainly the duo of Berry and the Duke of Kent clicked. I think he had George Summers before then. But now, this year, he's got a driver, Kyle, who I think is really probably one of the most underappreciated racers in the New England area. And I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah, Tom, a couple of years ago, Art Berry decided that he was going to go back to the Valenti Modified Racing Series, and they were going to run what was going to be a full-time schedule. They picked up John McKennedy. McKennedy had won the Valenti Modified Racing Series championship the year before, but he drove for his own team, and it was out of Chelmsford, Mass., with Power Mist as the main sponsor on that machine. They won the championship. The car was strong. They were in the front at every race, and I vastly remember a race at Seekonk where McKennedy flew through the field from about 15th to the lead in 10 laps at the end of the race with some fresh rubber on the right side, and I knew that was going to be a combo that would work when it hooked up. They went out in that number 2, well, at the time was number 2 with Art Berry, and they won the championship. Well, he and McKennedy kind of parted ways, with McKennedy running the ISMA Super Modified Tour over the past couple of seasons. So now Art Berry's going to go back at it, but this time with Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor's been running full-time on the Whelen Modified Tour up here in New England, and he's been vastly competitive, not championship competitive-wise, but to win races. Justin's always in the front when it matters most. Saves his equipment to the end of the race. And Tom, Art Berry's had a lot of success, not only in Valenti, but in other types of modified series, and Bonsignor is a good match for him, someone that's going to work a lot and make that car competitive right to the finish of every race.
Yeah, I definitely think Justin Bonsignor is really a driver that will fit in very well in that environment with Art Berry, and I think that is championship material right there.
And I completely agree. Bonsignor's been running with the Whelen Tour, so first of all, he's got more experience at some of the tracks that these Valenti guys only see once a year, and it's going to really help him at a track like Thompson and Stafford, where the Whelen Tour runs there 3-4 times a year, and I even think it's going to help him at a track like Monadnock Speedway that he's run various times. I would expect Bonsignor to be winning races on the Valenti Tour, and that very well, as you said, Tom, could be the championship combo for 2014. But as we all know, the Valenti Series is quickly growing. Rowan Pennick's going to return, trying to chase another championship. That series is going to be one of the biggest in New England, and unfortunately for a lot of people, in some words, it may overshadow the Whelen Tour in 2014.
Yeah, who would have ever thought that? But it's the changing landscape, ever-changing landscape in motorsports, it seems. What else you got there?
Well, also up here in New England, rumor had come down that Wayne Darling wasn't going to run full-time with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. For a little bit of background quickly on Wayne, Wayne's had various success in the Valenti Modified Racing Series, driving with the 52 as an owner, winning a couple of races in that tour. He's also won the championship in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour with Doug Coby just 2 or 3 years ago. Well, Wayne decided that he and Doug were going to part ways over the last couple of seasons, due to them not having the funding to run the 2014 season full-time. So Coby decided to go his separate ways, picked up the ride that Todd Zegedy was in, and he'll drive car number 2 for 2014. But that did not mean that Wayne was done. Wayne decided he was going to pick up Money Matt Hirschman. Matt's going to run car number 52 for what I'm hearing up here in New England for 7 to 8 of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour races, and you're most likely going to see that car at a place like Thompson or Stafford and the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, because Doug Coby has won in that car at New Hampshire before. The only race that's up in question for that 52 is Bristol, Tennessee in August. Does Wayne Darling want to take the trip? I spoke to Wayne over this past summer, and Wayne said that the Bristol Motor Speedway trip was a $10,000 trip. The week before they won a $10,000 to win show at Seacock Speedway in Seacock, Mass. So that trip is a lot of money, but Hirschman's going to hook up with Wayne Darling. Jacob, Tom, I know we talked about it this past Monday night as well. Hirschman has decided he's going to run his own family car, the other part of those races on the tour that he's not with Darling, and make a run for the championship in 2014.
That is certainly championship material, without a doubt. Again, anytime you put Matt Hirschman in the car, it goes to the front.
That's exactly right. And Kyle, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, because Money Matt, the last time he was on the Whelen Modified Tour back in 2011, I believe it was, running the Bowler number 3 car, did not light the world on fire. It was the one time I remember Matt Hirschman in his career where he had not really acclimated as well as we expected, didn't run to the caliber that we know he's capable of running. What do you expect from Hirschman in 2014? Do you see him as a legitimate championship contender?
You know, Jacob, I think in one point, Hirschman is one of those guys that comes out for the big dollar races. Obviously, the big dollar races up here in New England right now have got to be Seacock Speedway's $10,000 to win show, Star Speedway's total purse of $15,000 to win, and the TriStar Open Series at Lee USA that's going to be $5,000 to win. That car will be at those 3 races. As far as the Whelen Modified Tour, I think we're just going to have to wait and see. It's a driver that has the willingness to compete, but Matt is only really known for those big money races. You're going to get at least 1 or 2 big money races at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and if they go to Bristol Motor Speedway, that's a big money show. But Hirschman's known to save his equipment to the end of the race and come on strong. In the Whelen Modified Tour, that's something that's important. Save your equipment to the final few laps when you really need it most. And I really do think Hirschman is going to come around with that tour. He's going to be a championship contender. And this tour, even though it's going to have a less car count over from the past seasons, that tour is going to be one that's going to have a championship fight that will go right down to the World Series of Speedway Racing at Thompson.
Sounds like it is going to be a very interesting season, both in the VMRS and also on the Whelen Tour. What other information you got for us?
Well, side New England note for the modifieds is the TriStar Open Series. I spoke about it a minute ago, and it's a gentleman named James Schaefer, the Long Island Mod Maniac up here in New England, and he's put together various races that's going to start on Mother's Day Sunday at the Lee USA Speedway in New Hampshire. It's a 3-race series with a point fund for each race, so there's going to be a champion, a combined points champion for each of the 3 races. The minimum to start each race is $1,000, and that's something that's really going to bring cars to Yeah, that hasn't been something we've seen not only in wheel and tour races, but short races like this. These races are 100 laps. They're quick to finish, and especially at a track like Lee is not known for caution flags. At any point in an event, that race could go 100 laps green to checker. 1,000 to win, but the better part of it is there's going to be B main races after the qualifying races conclude, and those races are worth $800 to win. You're going to go home with at least $500 for just showing up at one of these three races. So it starts at Lee on Mother's Day Sunday in New Hampshire. That raised $5,000 to take the checkered flag plus lap money. Seacock Speedway in July. This will be the 12th annual Open Wheel Wednesday Spectacular with the Northeastern Midget Association also on hand. $10,000 to win plus $50 to lead each lap. So if somebody goes out there and lead every lap, like Matt Hirschman has done, he could pick up a lot more cash, and it'll conclude at Star Speedway with the 4th annual SBM.
I heard the words B mains and my ears perked up. This is not sprint car racing, but I am completely down with that.
You know, Jacob, we haven't seen the B-Main consolations, and up here in New England, they're more called consolation races at this point, because it's just a matter of knocking 3 or 4 cars out. You see it at the local short track, such as the Thompson or the Stafford. If they've got 3 or 4 too many cars, they need to knock them out. It's a consi heat race. But in this case, these modified runs are going to be B-main races. They could be 50 laps in distance. That's still up in the air. But at a track like Seacock, if we're going to get, from what I'm hearing, rumored 40 cars to show up and 24 to start, that's a 16-car B-main with $1,000 up on the line just to win it. So that's going to be an event not only at Seacock, but at the other tracks and some other races that could be added into this that is just going to bring cars and a point fund that's going to have a cash value at the end of it. It's going to be a TriStar Open Series for the ages up here in New England. And we all have to thank James Schaefer and Kevin Rice for putting things together up here in the Northeast.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. That will be well worth watching, and I know you're going to keep us up on all the developments related to those 3 races, Kyle. Right now, we're going to take our second break of the evening. When we come back, we are going to switch gears for a moment and talk about a young driver who is trying to make an impression on the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and this young man has a very heartwarming story, and I am anxious to get into that with Jacob Seelman. When we come back, you are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it, and it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He'd guide us to that ultimate victory.
Watch Tony's story at IamSecond.com.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. We're proud they're a Motorsports content partner here at Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for raw materials such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is the place to go for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the path to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com or SRI-supplies.com. Check them both out on Facebook or call them toll-free at 1-888-752-7272, 1-888-752-7272.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for Motorsports. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Jacob Seelman, Kyle Souza, and Tom Baker around the round table here on a Thursday night. And Tom, I'm really excited about this next segment and interview of the show tonight because this is an interview that was a very, very touching and very special interview for me to conduct earlier this week regarding a young NASCAR Nationwide Series driver who has really left a big impression on the motorsports community, even despite the fact that in the Nationwide Series itself he hasn't had the results he's been looking for just yet.
Well, young Joey Gase, I have the feeling, is on his way up the motorsports ladder, and getting the opportunity to race for someone who's been around the sport as long as Jimmy Means has, is certainly a great opportunity for Joey. More importantly, I think Joey's going to make an impression on a lot of people just with who he is, with his character, and with the values that he has and the awareness and the maturity that he has at such a young age. And I'm going to let you kind of detail the story a little bit and set up the interview because you had a chance to talk with him, and I'll let you kind of take it from here.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Joey Gase's story is really a very, very touching story. There's a lot of framework behind it in the fact that not long after he turned 18 and was eligible to start competing in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, in fact, about 4 months before he made his first start at Iowa in August of 2011, his mom passed away, and because Joey was 18 and she was not married at the time, he was the one that ended up having to handle all the funeral arrangements and major decisions. And between Joey and the family decided that they were going to have her be an organ donor. As they later found out after the decision was finalized, she had actually been listed as an organ donor to begin with, but the family having to finalize that decision. And Joey has gotten involved with over the past couple years because of his situation with making the decision for his mom and getting very much involved in the organ donation cause, has worked with one of his sponsors, Donate Life, and the Donate Life Foundation for organ, eye, and tissue donation to get more young people and even more people across the country involved in the process and what it means to be an organ donor because of what his mom ultimately ended up being able to do for those around her. Joey got the opportunity to meet one of the young men who received a kidney from his mom in 2012 at Iowa Speedway, and he said that was a very touching experience for him, knowing that a part of his mom was still living on and was able to give somebody else a normal life. I was so touched by the story and just by the poise that he has shown over the last couple years and how he's turned what was a very bad situation for his family into such a positive. And when you hear the interview in just a moment, it's just a very, very powerful story. So let's hear from Joey Gase. Jacob Seelman for Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com, sitting down for a featured interview this afternoon with Jimmy Means Racing NASCAR Nationwide Series driver Joey Gase. Joey, first off, thank you for taking some time to talk with us. You've had a lot of success at the short track ranks over the last couple years and have moved into the NASCAR Nationwide Series. You just announced that you're going to be returning to Jimmy Means' number 52 team for 2014. Talk a little bit about what it means for you guys to have that announcement sewed up and knowing that you're going to be back in the seat full-time again.
Yeah, it's really nice to have that locked in, and I really just got to thank Jimmy for giving me the opportunity again. I really think this year will be a great year for us. My goal is now to finish the top 20 in driver points and hopefully get our number locked in the top 30, so we'll be locked in every race, and really looking forward to it.
What's the learning curve been like for you over the last couple of years with getting adjusted to the NASCAR cars as opposed to the short track late models and modifieds that you ran over the start of your career?
The biggest thing would be the cars are just so much heavier, and learning all the air. When you get up behind someone on the bigger tracks, you'll really get tight in a hurry, and the air will actually move your car around a little bit. Just getting a different feel and learning how to communicate with the guys and being able to make adjustments over a long race and knowing what the car will need. And not only be fast for 30 laps, but the entire race.
You just got finished with preseason thunder down at the Daytona International Speedway. You're getting ready to head down there in a couple weeks for Speed Weeks. What do you feel like your guys' chances are for the nationwide race at Daytona, especially with all the rules changes that have been made over the last couple weeks?
I'm really excited for the race. I think we have a really good chance of getting a top 20, top 15 finish, and maybe even a win. You just never know at a track like Daytona or Talladega. The biggest thing is going to be able to keep the car at the cool and stand out the big one and being there at the end. And then the last lap, you just hang on tight and go for it. So we'll see what happens. And I think it's a good thing they're getting away from the tandem drafting and hopefully we'll be back to just one big pack. I think it should be a lot of fun.
You've done a lot of charity work over your time in the NASCAR ranks and even back a little bit before you burst onto the national scene with Donate Life and throughout your home state of Iowa. Talk a little bit about some of that work you've done off track over the last couple years.
Yeah, my mom passed away in April of 2011 of a cerebral aneurysm. At that time, we were forced the decision if she wanted to be an organ tissue donor or not. I just turned 18 and my mom wasn't married at the time, so I was the one who had to make the legal decision if she would want to be. We made it as a family, and my whole mom always loved helping people and wanted to donate blood all the time, and so we made a decision that she would want to be. And later we found her driver's license, and it said she was already an organ donor, so that was huge. But since that day, I've been wanting to honor my mom and other donors and let them know they're never forgotten in their families. And at that time, I didn't really know a whole lot at all about organ and tissue donation. And ever since then, I've been trying to educate people. So when someone comes to that tough decision, hopefully it'll already be made and a lot easier. The only thing I knew about it was when you go to the DMV, it's just a yes or no question. I'm trying to change that and get people to actually sit down and really think about it and let them know how big of an impact they would make in someone else's life.
Talking about your mom, you actually had a very special opportunity back a year or so to meet one of the young people that was impacted by that decision that you guys made after your mom's passing. Talk a little bit about what that whole experience meant to you, getting to meet Jordan Shaw and really see that this decision made so much of a difference far beyond just you guys.
It just made a huge impact on me and my sister and my entire family. Before I knew my mom helped a lot of people, but being actually put a face to it and know part of my mom's inside him, that if it wasn't for my mom, he probably wasn't going to be able to continue his life. And now hopefully he'll be able to live a long life and a healthy life and be able to do all the things he should be able to do. And ever since that day, we still stay in contact with Jordan. He's doing well, and it's a really amazing experience, and we're really lucky and fortunate to be able to meet one of my mom's recipients. Not everyone's able to do that.
And looking forward towards 2014, the deal's obviously in place, but I know you guys can't do it alone, and you have some support behind you. Talk a little bit about who makes it happen for Joey Gase.
Right now we have support from Donate Life, not for all the races, but we're trying to get more races locked in from other OPOs across the nation. And we also have DB Sales Company and Better Business Bureau. We're still searching for a primary sponsor throughout the entire season to jump on board with us. And we're talking to a few people, and hopefully we'll have one jump in with us. And looking forward to Donate Life and DB Sales and Better Business Bureau. We'll be able to be racing today, and it's amazing all the people it takes to make this all work out for us.
And I know for a lot of people that have watched him, this is a young man who has done a lot with very little, and I know looking for the right opportunity to take it even further. Joey, we appreciate your time this afternoon. Look forward to seeing you on track at Daytona here in just a couple of weeks, and wish you all the best for 2014.
All right, thank you. I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
And Tom, the story continued even beyond the interview that I had the opportunity to do with Joey earlier this week, as you and I saw on Wednesday. Once we got the features article up on the website, actually one of the donor families that was involved in Mary Jo Gase's Transplants reached out to Joey after seeing our feature story on the RaceChaserOnline.com website, and actually has now connected Joey with both his family and another one of the recipients. So just a very, very powerful situation, and goes to show that far beyond the decisions we make every day, those decisions can make life-changing moments happen no matter where you turn and where you look. An incredible story, and I was just very touched to be a part of it.
I was completely taken aback by what happened this week. You do what you do, and you do it because you love it, and you do it. I mean, you and I do it because we really want to help other drivers grow and succeed, and we enjoy the opportunity to promote the drivers who are not currently getting the top spotlight and who need it in order to show their marketing partners that, hey, we can be marketable as well, and we have our own unique story. And Joey just did such an amazing job of telling the story, and then to have another one of the donor recipients contact him through our website was incredible. I mean, so it's just one of those, it's bigger than the sport kind of things, and it goes to show that there's so much more to life than racing. So we all fight about this rule and that rule, or we don't like this guy or that guy or whatever, but we forget sometimes we're dealing with human beings. And certainly Joey Gase is a credit to himself and to his family, and he is definitely carrying on a legacy that I have to believe his mother would be incredibly proud of. So I certainly wish Joey all the best this year, and it's just an amazing story for sure.
Yeah, it is. I would like to wish Joey the same. I know they're looking forward to getting on track in a couple weeks, but I want to echo your sentiments. I don't just have to think. I have to believe very deeply that with all the work he's been doing the last couple years, I have no doubt his mother would be exceptionally proud of the job that Joey is doing, not just on the track, but off the track as well. So an incredible story. Glad I got the opportunity to portray it, and looking forward to seeing some great things come out of Joey Gase and that camp for 2014.
No question about it. No question about it. We're going to take our final break of the evening. When we come back here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report, we're going to have some more modified conversation with Kuza. We're also going to be hearing from a couple of the younger drivers who are on their way up the motorsports ladder. We're going to hear from William Byron. We're also going to hear from Kaz Gralla, who's going to be in the cockpit of a car this weekend at Daytona. And we're going to tell you all about all of that when we return. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Stick around. Our final segments are coming up.
Did you know that most teens who drink alcohol get it from people they know? Usually their friends or family members. But regardless of where they get it, alcohol puts teens at risk for injury, to themselves and to others. You can help make it a safe summer for the teens you know. Don't serve them alcohol. It's unsafe, it's illegal, and it's irresponsible. Find out more at don'tserveteens.gov. That's don'tserveteens.gov. A message from the Federal Trade Commission and this station.
I'm Jacob Seelman.
And I'm Tom Baker.
You're listening to Speed 77 Radio,
Powered by Race Chaser Online.
We are your home for motorsports.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online. Tom Baker along with, I am tongue-tied in this segment, Tom Baker along with Jacob Seelman and Kyle Souza. We're taking you through another hour of motorsports conversation here on a Thursday night in Charlotte. And we are going to switch gears once again, and we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of younger drivers, Jacob, that are coming up through the ranks, and each in a little bit of a different position going into 2014. First of all, let's talk about William Byron. Let's start with William. William is a driver who came out of the box, literally, had never raced anything prior to 2013, had made quite a career for himself on iRacing, but that was it, had never raced a real race car, got into a Legends car, won over 30 races, won a championship, and is now breaking into NASCAR late model racing with a team with a big old name on the door.
Yeah, he is, and that big old name on the door would be Dale Earnhardt Jr. and JR Motorsports for 2014. Will has impressed a lot of people in a very short time. 33 wins last season en route to the Young Lions Division Championship in the Legends cars for 2013. Got the call from Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt Miller, and he's going to run as a teammate to Josh Berry for 2014 with the JRM late model program. Josh Berry won the track championship up at Motor Mile Speedway in 2012. He's posted several wins over the last couple years and certainly looks to aid William in the transition from the Legends cars to the late models. But this is a young man who's got a lot of potential, and I think, not to overstate it, but I think he could surprise a lot of people just like he did when he first set foot in that Legends car for 2013. I just think there's a lot of natural ability that we haven't seen in a lot of drivers. Kyle Larson comes to mind as one who can just sit in a car and win, and I feel like William has a lot of that same ability to just, whatever he gets in, he's going to figure out how to go fast in it.
Well, we're going to find out here where he's at. It's going to be a whole different animal than what he's used to with the Legends star. And, granted, he had a huge season last year in the Legends, but this is going to be a lot of pressure. There's when you sign with a team with JR Motorsports on the side, there's some pressure that's implicit with that, and whether it's appropriate or not is a different matter, but there's certainly some pressure that's implicit with that. And so Williams certainly is a very mature young racer and a very humble young man as well, and hopefully he will always be that way. He just has a ton of upside potential. But this is definitely going to be a bigger situation. He's not going to be running against kids. He's going to be running against older racers who are seasoned in the late models. And so I don't think he's going to find it quite as easy to come out of the box and just start winning big races as he did in the Legends car. So this is going to be a big step for him. But certainly he's got room to grow. And, JR Motorsports has, L.W. Miller has been around forever and very successful and, really has done well in sort of Southern racing, really. So definitely some opportunity there for William to grow into the seat, so to speak. And I think he will if they're patient. And he's patient, and everybody can kind of just keep the goals and expectations real. I think William will do just fine.
I have to agree, and not only did I get a chance to talk with him shortly after the announcement, but he agreed to let us turn the microphones on and get a chance to get a soundbite on his thoughts for 2014 with JRM. So let's take a minute and hear from William Byron. Jacob Seelman for Speed 77 Radio and RaceChaserOnline.com, sitting down for a featured interview with newly announced 2014 late model competitor for Junior Motorsports, William Byron out of Charlotte, North Carolina. William, big announcement for you after winning the national championship in Legends Young Lions last year. What kind of a boost is it to you for 2014 to have the deal for the junior team sewn up and knowing that you're really taking a step up into proven equipment?
It's a great boost of confidence. I'm really excited about the opportunity I've been given with Junior Motorsports, and to work with Josh Berry as a teammate is an awesome opportunity. We have a great crew chief in Brian Schaefer, and I'm really looking forward to it. A great boost of confidence, like I said, after coming off a pretty solid season in my rookie year.
Going into year 2 for you, obviously taking a big step up in the learning curves, what kind of challenges do you anticipate facing making the move over to the late model program and still running the Legends Car program some for 2014 as well?
It's going to be a big transition with it being a huge car or a bigger car. A late model stock car is all about saving tires and managing the race, and it's a big mental game. So, those are things that I learned in iRacing, and they don't necessarily apply in legend cars because it's short races, about 25 laps, where a late model race is 150 laps. So it's a big adjustment, but I feel like I'm really prepared for it.
Where do you feel the expectations are going to be set reasonably for 2014? Obviously, we've seen you win just about every time you hit the track for 2013 in the Legends cars, but where do you guys reasonably set the bar for 2014 with the move over to the late model program?
I think with the equipment that I'm going to be given, I think we expect to win 3 or 4 races, and hopefully more than that. If I can win 3 or 4 races, I think I'm right on track with the late model stock division because there's not that many races and it's really tough competition racing guys that have raced for 20 years out there. So, if I can win a couple races or 3 to 4, then I feel like I'm right on track for next year.
And I know you're going to be making the move to several different tracks in the late model program for 2014. Where are you most looking forward to hitting the track at next year?
I think Motor Mile because of the competition level at Motor Mile. I've already practiced at Hickory, and I really like that racetrack as well. And but I think, the increased competition at Motor Mile is going to be a huge challenge for me and my teammate Josh. So I think when we go there, I'm going to really look forward to racing at that facility, and I think it's a tough racetrack.
What kind of a benefit do you feel it's going to be for you having somebody like Josh Berry, who's won a track championship at Motor Mile in the past, to lean on as you make the transition for 14?
Well, Josh is going to give me a lot of great advice. I was at the shop today working on my race car, and he was helping to explain different things about the race car for me to learn more about it. So, he's already helping on the first day, and, that can only improve as we go towards the season. And he's a great mentor. He's a great driver, and I really respect him.
And obviously we've mentioned a few of the parties already, but I'm going to give you a chance to give your shout-outs for the upcoming season because I know it's not just the people that help make it happen. Talk about some of the supporters and everybody who's made it happen for William Byron.
Well, first of all, my parents really make it happen for me. They provide me with opportunities that are really a dream for me, and this opportunity with Junior Motorsports for them to connect me with that team and for myself to work into that opportunity is really an incredible situation. And my crew chief, Dennis Lambert, he made it happen all year in Legend Cars, and he continues to this year in Legend Cars as we move forward. So, those 3 people are really a big influence on my career.
And obviously in 14 you'll have all the help from those at Junior Motorsports, Josh Berry, Kelly Earnhardt Miller, and all the rest to help make it happen as well. Will, we wish you the best of luck as you embark on your new endeavor here in 2014. Appreciate your time as always and wish you all the best as you get set to start the next chapter in late models.
Thank you, Jacob. I really appreciate you having me on.
And yet we're not done. We've got a 2-pack of young drivers. As you mentioned, Tom, of course, we just had William Byron on, and now we'll talk real quickly about another young driver who is going to be on track this weekend, Kaz Gralla, who was just announced earlier this week as one of the newest drivers for Turner Scott Motorsports in the K&N Pro Series East for 2014. Turner Scott going to run 5 full-time cars along with Gralla. They're going to have Cameron Haley, Scott Heckert, Brandon Jones, and Ben Rhodes in the seat to try and chase another championship. They got the title last year with Dylan Kwasniewski. They've got 5 very young and very bright talents looking to do it again, but Kaz Gralla, really a bona fide rookie for the K&N East Series. He was down testing at New Smyrna earlier this week, and he's the only one of the 5 who has not had seat time in an East car before, but he's been solid in late models, ran the UARA Tour last year, picked up a big win in the Banjo Matthews Memorial at Hickory Motor Speedway, and it's going to be a very interesting 2014 season, I think, for Kaz. It's going to be a big adjustment period, we know. But, Tom, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Kaz's 2014 plans now that the cat's really out of the bag here?
Or is that the Kaz is out of the bag? I'm not sure which. Look, the Wizard of Ozlink, Kaz Grala, I think he's going to have an interesting learning curve. It's certainly the testing at Smyrna helped. I've got to believe, and Kaz is definitely talented. He's got the ability. He certainly has the resources around him to be able to the right people and the right equipment to do what he needs to do. And he's got a nice demeanor, very respectful young man. I think that again, much like William Byron, it's a big step. And so as long as everyone's realistic in the expectations and doesn't expect too much too soon, certainly he's in the best situation possible as far as I'm concerned with Turner Scott, and he's got some great teammates around him. So hopefully he'll come along as the season progresses, and I'm sure he'll be much stronger in the second half than he is in the first. But no doubt he's very talented. In fact, in a car this weekend at Daytona.
And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Double opportunity for Kaz Grala here in the early months of the season, but let's hear from him first and hear about his expectations for 2014. Kaz, first off, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your testing schedule to talk with us. You're already behind the cockpit trying to get acclimated to that East car for 2014. Big announcement coming out yesterday that you're going to run the full East schedule this season. Talk a little bit about what this has meant for you, because it's really been a meteoric rise for you after the success you had in the late model ranks in 2013.
Yes, sir. I mean, this is a huge opportunity for me, of course, not just with the series, being the K&N series, which is just an unbelievably run series. It's got the NASCAR brand on it, and there's just a ton of young talent coming up through the ranks. So that's one huge part of it. And the other part, like you said, is the team, Turner Scott. The car, it's really good people and resources as well. And last year they were the championship team, actually. So, very, very good spot this season. I couldn't be happier, and I'm definitely excited for it.
Talk a little bit about the transition now, because you've started testing. What kind of differences have you noticed with the K&N car as opposed to the late model that you ran last year?
Well, it seems like to be fast in a K&N car is exactly the same as being fast in a late model. You got to do the same things, be smooth, but at the same time you got to be aggressive on the brake and the throttle. The big difference, I'd say, is it's a little bit slower in the center because it's a little heavier, but the power coming off is a lot greater than the late model. Takes off a lot quicker, although it does have actually even more forward bite than the late model has. Just a couple minor differences, but nothing that should be too huge. I'm sure it'll only be a couple races before I'm used to the car.
Talk about, I know you're down there testing already, talk a little bit about what you feel like the interaction is going to be like, because there's going to be 5 of you running the East team for 2014 with Turner Scott, so a lot of voices to lean on, especially since you're the only one out of the group that's not driven a K&N car before.
Right. I mean, I think the teammates are going to be as important as they always are. Having 4 of them will be better. More facts to get as the group to get about setup, and then as the driver to get about driving tips. And like you said, I'm the only one on the team that's never driven a K&N car. So teammates are going to be everything for me this season, just getting advice on how to drive the track that I haven't been to, and how to drive the car, which I haven't driven before. So teammates are definitely going to play a big role in this season.
And a very diverse K&N schedule for 2014, going to start in just a couple of weeks at New Smyrna Speedway, and then going to head to the Battle at the Beach at Daytona, which you actually ran in a late model last year. What's the anticipation like going back to Daytona and knowing that this time it's going to be in the top level of the grassroots racing, really, in the form of the NASCAR K&N East Series?
Well, I was hoping that some of my experience from last year in the late model there will help me, but I did hear that they're going to change up the track a little bit, which I think will make the race a little bit better than it was last year. Also, with it being a points race this year, which it wasn't last year, will definitely change things up, especially since we have 2 races in Florida within 3 days. So that'll definitely shake it up. You want your nose clean in the first race so that you have a car to race in the second race.
What are the expectations like going in for you for 2014? Obviously, trying right now to get as much experience as you can in the car before you take the green flag at Smyrna, but where do you set the bar for 2014 as far as what you can expect for on-track results?
Well, I think the expectations for me are not very high, just because I'm the only driver on the team that hasn't driven these cars and that haven't driven at a lot of these tracks. Personal expectations, I'd say I hope to get some top 10s this season, maybe even a top 5 later in the season once I get used to the car. I think that would be a good start, especially such a high series. So many great drivers in it. A top 10 and a top 5 would just be a huge accomplishment for me, especially my first season. So I'd say that'd be my goal.
And obviously getting set for 2014, I know you can't do it alone, and I know in addition to the team, there's a bunch of supporters that help make it happen, so I'm going to let you give your shout-outs as we get set to roll for the new season in just a couple weeks. Who makes it happen for Kaz Gralla?
Well, of course, my parents, as always, my sponsor, Oslink, for this season, and Cheddar Scott Motorsports, and Ray Holmes as my crew chief.
And it's going to be an exciting 2014 to watch for a young rookie who has moved up into the next level, Kaz. Appreciate you again taking some time to talk with us. We wish you all the best as you embark on the next stage of your career for 2014 and look forward to seeing you on track here in about 2 weeks at New Smyrna for the opening race of the K&N Pro Series season.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Tom, oh, by the way, that ride that you mentioned that he's going to have at Daytona this weekend going to be very vastly different than when he ran the Battle at the Beach last year or when he's going to run it again here next month at the Daytona International Speedway. He is actually racing in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, the undercard race to the Rolex 24 at Daytona this weekend, driving for Rum Bum Racing. Gralla going to be in the Grand Sport class, the top class, and in qualifying earlier today, actually impressed a lot of people in that BMW M3 machine. Qualified 13th overall, just a little under 2 seconds off the top spot. So the Rum Bum team has said he's got very good race pace, and they wouldn't be surprised to see this team in the top 10, maybe even fighting for a spot in the top 5 before the race is over. His teammate qualified second, the team car to the 03 that Kaz is driving, the number 13 car, qualified second overall. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this turns out for Kaz. 2.5 hours the distance for the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge event this weekend, but he's going to be turning left and right before he goes back to turning left in February.
Hope he's eating plenty of Wheaties this week. Sounds like it might be kind of a workout.
That it does. It does sound like it'll be very much a workout. That Daytona road course track's a physical track, certainly very demanding race. So he's the youngest driver to ever start in a Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race. So when he takes the green flag, he'll make that little bit of history, and then it'll be time to see what he can do with it.
Yeah, it should be interesting to watch. We certainly wish him safety and the best of luck this weekend in his debut in that series, and of course with the K&N Pro East series as well coming up. Let's switch gears one last time, switch direction back to the modifieds. Hey, Kuza, we didn't get a chance to talk to you last week because, well, you weren't here, about the big news out of New England, which was Tommy Barrett getting the ride of his life with the Chris Hour 22 team for the upcoming season this year, starting with the Florida swing, if you will. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this pairing because I can see nothing but gold coming from this.
Well, Tom, Tommy Barrett is one of those kids that he's always, and we talked about it earlier in the show with Justin Bonsignor, but Barrett knows how to save his equipment. He's worked with Mario Fiore over the last couple of seasons, and Mario was one to teach him that, and Barrett's really, really grasped onto that. He did it in the Valenti Modified Racing Series last season, finishing third in the points, and Barrett really, really is around at the end of a race. I'm a little unsure on what's going to happen, though, wheel and tour-wise. Barrett ran Valenti over the past 2 seasons and ran strong, especially at the latter half of this past season, picking up various victories. I'm not sold, Tom, though, on what he's going to do on the wheel and tour. There's going to be certain tracks that he's going to run to the front. I would expect him in the front at Stafford. I'd expect him in contention at Monadnock. But a place like Thompson, I just don't know. Barrett's one of those really short track guys, and I think the bigger the track, the more of a struggle it's going to be for Tommy Barrett. He's not going to be struggling based equipment-wise, though, Tom. We know that. That number 22 is stout and one of the best pieces of equipment in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. But I do think the bigger and the longer and the more high-speed tracks, Barrett may struggle a little bit compared to those short and grinding tracks like a Monadnock or a Stafford.
Well, we'll see. I think Brad LaFontaine will have him running stout everywhere. I think that they'll work on his weaknesses when it comes to the bigger tracks and help him to improve on those skills. And I've got a feeling that team is going to be a team to reckon with, particularly as the season starts to get into the summer and through the balance of it. I think with the time to get acquainted in Florida and kind of get everything worked out, I've got a feeling that Tommy Barrett is going to be one tough customer in 2014. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I agree. I think the longer that it goes for Barrett, the better it's going to get. Right at the start, though, I do think he's going to struggle. That's a little bit of a bigger step up for him. I believe he has run 1 or 2 Wheel and Modified Tour races, if my memory is hooking me correctly here. But Barrett is one of those guys that, as I said, he can save his equipment, and that's big on the Wheel and Tour. A lot of guys go out there, put everything they can at the start of the race. They've got nothing left. When it comes to the finish, Tommy Barrett's always in competition.
And I'm sure we'll keep up to date on what Tommy's doing here, especially as we get into the Florida racing scene here in another month or so, and look forward to seeing how the modifieds in general shape this year. A lot of excitement in New England with all of the various series and mini-series that are going on up there, and of course the Southern Modified Tour as well. Modified racing alive and well, and we will be keeping on top of all of it as we go forward into 2014. Jacob?
I was just going to say, when Kyle said, if my memory serves me correctly, that's my cue to make sure whether it actually is or not. Tommy Barrett did actually run the final 2 Wheel and Modified Tour races in 2012, picked up a top 10 at Thompson Speedway, driving for Gary Tito in the number 10 machine. So, Kyle, we've seen him have some speed, but it's been over a year since he's been on the tour, so it's going to be very interesting to see the acclimation period.
No, and I agree. Barrett is one of those guys that he's a up-and-coming star in the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Not only the Modified Tour, but the SK division as well up here in New England. He started with that, moved to Valenti, ran well, and he's just continuing to move up the ladder. I would not be surprised. Tom, I know you're more of a super modified guy. He's a good asphalt modified driver, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tommy get in a super modified maybe before this year is even out.
Well, I don't know where that comes from, Kuza, or why you think that, but it certainly wouldn't hurt my feelings. I think Tommy's a great young kid and has all kinds of racing talent. And you know what? A racetrack's a racetrack. It just gets bigger and faster, or it gets smaller and tighter and slower. So I really believe Tommy will adapt just fine. That a series like the Florida series can age and mature you in a hurry running all those shows. And I just think that it's going to be a great opportunity for him. And as I say, the modifieds in general alive and well. Jacob, nice catch on the stats. Who needs reality, ESPN, when you got Jacob Seelman? And on that note, we are going to take the checkered flag for tonight's Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show until next Thursday, when we come back for another hour of motorsports conversation. And, of course, on Tuesday nights, Jacob Seelman and I, along with Kyle and our cast of characters will be 1 hour or more. On Monday nights at 7 p.m. We just switched back to Monday nights at 7 here on Speed 77 Radio and Race Chaser Online for the Motorsports Madness Show, which is a full hour or more of news and lively conversation from all around the motorsports world. And I can already tell you that this coming Monday, if you're an open wheel fan, and even if you're not, you're going to love the show. But if you're an open wheel fan, we've got a couple of top young open wheel racers from the Indy Lights Series on. We're going to have Joel Sebastianelli on for the Indy Formula One side of things, our correspondent from over there, to talk some open wheel. And, of course, we'll have all the latest and greatest from what's happening at Daytona this weekend and the upcoming NASCAR stuff as well. So until Monday night for Motorsports Madness, and Thursday night of next week for Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, I'm Tom Baker, inviting you to check out StockCarSteel.com and SRISupplies.com for all your racing needs. And of course, for all the news of the day in motorsports, your very first choice for short track news and driver interviews on the web is Speed 77 Radio, or by RaceChaserOnline.com. For Jacob Seelman and Kyle Souza, I'm Tom Baker. So long, everyone. Have a safe racing week. God bless.